Hello everyone, it's me again, and this is my Unit 5 journal entry, and they want us to talk about what our topics are, what we plan on doing for our Unit 6 speech. Um, the only thing I can think of that relates and correlates to my everyday thing that might be neat or interesting for everybody else would probably be wire soldering. Now, wire soldering can be done in many different manners for many different reasons. You can solder it onto circuit boards. There's micro solderings for multi-layer circuit boards. Sorry, but most common is wire soldering. Usually, one or two wires to a resistor or a diode or something of that nature. But I do it a lot at work. Not so much resistors and there, but mostly just wiring on a style of connector. It's called a wafer connector or a multi-pin connector. But wiring is a unique skill that not everyone really knows, but it's really useful when it comes to dealing with electrical or computer or any type of electronics that has wires in it. It's usually probably soldered. And most of the time, if you have a cheap little flashlight, the bottom button, they go broke. You hit the button, doesn't work. There's a solder joint on the back of those. They usually break off. But I'm getting besides the point. I learned soldering from my father a long time ago. Probably when I was about 10 or 12. This puts it about 10 or 12 years ago, if not more. But it helps me out at work. I'm one of the few people that are very skilled in soldering. So anytime there's a job that comes up, I'm the one that does it. But at the same time, I'm trying to train other people. So I'm not the only one that keeps doing it. For my speech itself, like the props or visual aids I would probably use would be soldering iron. You need a sponge, a wet sponge, to help clean the tip so it doesn't burn and makes the soldering joints look better. Wire, of course. Flux, which can be water based or petroleum based. It allows the solder to adhere to the metal better, and then the solder itself. The type of example I'll probably do with the basic soldering. It's called wire tinning, and you strip the end of the wire and you dip it in the flux. You have solder on your soldering iron, and then you put it on the wire, and then the tip of the wire gets hard, and it makes it into basically a solid piece of metal or a solid wire versus braided wire. Um, and it allows it to be easier for actual soldering onto a part or a circuit board. It makes the wire more rigid and not flimsy. Um, some of the prepared, one of the things I might do for the speech would probably prepare in advance, like pre-stage my soldering iron, the flux, everything to where it's right here in the camera. And I might have one wire already soldered, one wire not soldered, to show the difference, and then show you how to do it to make it look like the one that's done already. And some of the elements that I might have to worry about, or sorry, I'm scratching my leg. Talk about would be one, not to burn myself, because it's very, very easy to burn yourself with a soldering iron, and it hurts. It gets up to about 700 degrees depending on your solder. Um, might have to buy a little stand to hold my phone or camera to angle it down so you actually can see what I'm doing instead of trying to do it up here in front of my face and in front of the camera. And I might have to research a little bit to you make sure I use the correct verbiage and not just layman's terms, so the more technical names for the technique that I would be using, if there is one. But soldering itself is pretty common. But I think that might be my best demonstration speech I can come up with. But that's the end of the journal. Sergeant Waldo, if you were still wondering, this is a knife hand. Instead of just pointing at someone, you basically throw your whole hand at them and you point up. Like it. I don't know, it's kind of like a threat thing, but there you go. Now you're wondering what we talk about in class with the knife hand. Bye.